Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
Hey guys, what's up? Jin here with the Otakuology Podcast again, as always, with my co-host, Otaku Mike.
I'm Otaku Mike.
Yeah,
That's
me. You are Otaku Mike.
That's me.
You better own that name.
I am the Otaku Mike.
Excuse me. Make sure you put that in front of Otaku.
I'm here with Jin the Doughboy Graves.
Definitely not. So, anyway, today we're going to cover Umbrella Academy Season 3.
No, we're not.
I knew you'd be like, you bastard.
I haven't even finished that, you bastard.
Exactly. I feel like that word's going to be used a lot this podcast. Anyway, what we are actually covering is a kind of retelling, remade, redone old anime called Bastard.
It's actually Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy.
That's okay. My TV's too far away. I can't read those little letters underneath.
Well, I looked it up on Wikipedia. It's Bastard, 2 exclamation points. Heavy Metal, comma, Dark Fantasy.
Oh my gosh.
But I think people just call it Bastard.
Bastard.
Yeah.
So that's what we're covering today.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, Mike is definitely the heavy metal bastard.
I mean, I do like heavy metal. Yes, I do.
So I want to cover one thing that's outside of the episodes real quick.
Okay.
So there was an attack that got used. It was like a fire thing that the guy threw in front of him at one point.
Uh-huh.
And it was called Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's never used this attack before.
He used it several times. He just shortened the name.
I don't think so. I don't think he ever used.
Anyways, let's get into talking about this anime so we can actually talk about the names. Because I want to know if you picked up on some of them. So you want to start us off?
Yeah. So the story goes that we have Yoko, which is a young virgin maiden. Her dad is a priest. Of like
he was
their
like
holy...
a level 125 warrior monk or something. He says,
yeah. He starts out and he's like, I'm like a level 16 priest, but a level 127 warrior monk, and you're like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Is that a class system in D&D?
Well, this is very D&D influenced. You could
it
say.
Was. But there was a previous war that we don't get to see, but we know about because we talk about it through the whole Bastard anime.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a big kind of dark general sorcerer guy that the priest and a few other people helped lock away inside of a baby at the time and have raised him since then. And so he's kind of got the best of both worlds of being this dark sorcerer, Dark Schneider, and being Lucian Rinrin.
It's kind of like a reverse Naruto almost a little bit. Would you say?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Kind of a little bit.
I would agree with that.
Even though this came out way before Naruto did.
And it could have been an influence on Naruto. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
I would say yes, it is pretty close, except that the spirits actually joined together in this.
Yeah.
Because the Lucian personality and Dark Schneider personality were kind of separate, but then slowly but surely they started merging and growing together. So.
Yeah. So as Jin said, there was this big war previously, and the Kingdom of Meta-llicana, um,
Metallica.
Meta-llicana is at war with the they called them was it the Rebel Army? They called them.
No.
What were they called?
I think it was the Dark.
The Dark Rebel Army, is that what they were called?
Yeah, but there was another name in there.
Oh, I can't remember. And they all used to be in league with Dark Snyder back in the day, and they are still at war. They're trying to build their like utopia of some kind. I can't remember exactly what they're
wizards.
Their dark wizard utopia.
Yeah.
And the kingdom is attacked. Meta-llicana gets attacked. And they're like, oh no, we gotta save the Princess Shayla, who, might I add, is not wearing very many clothes in this anime at all.
Well,
except till the end. Except till the end.
I do feel like they put more clothes on people at the end, but Dark Snyder got a little more perverted.
Yeah.
It's like we gave up skin for perviness, so.
And so they're being attacked. They're all like locked in like this one room, and they're basically like, Yoko. They tell this girl, Yoko, you have to perform the ritual to unlock Dark Snyder's power, or unlock him basically, and like reincarnate him. And like you said before, he is in the body of a little boy, and the little boy happens to be her childhood friend. And how does Yoko unlock this power? For Dark Snyder.
Dark Snyder has to receive a Virgin Maiden's kiss.
Yes, but at first I thought it was only her who could unlock his power.
That's what I thought too. But then, like episode 2, we got more of that, because I was sitting there thinking like there probably weren't any real Virgin Maidens, and because she was through the church, that's why how that happened. Because even though she wasn't like exactly a nun or anything, she was technically like a nun.
I don't really know what she was.
I mean, her dad was a priest, so
I don't know if she had like an actual role, or was she just like supposed to be like a villager, or she didn't.
I don't know. I mean, and the other weird part was all the other priests or whatever kind of really seemed like horn dogs around her.
Yeah,
they did. I was like, I'm surprised she is still a virgin.
But I thought it was funny that she's like, wait, I have to do this with all these people around, and I have to kiss Lucian, and
my virgin kisses.
It's my first time. It's my first time.
Yes,
I don't want to do this, but we get introduced to one of the characters I wish stayed around, which was Lord Osborne. He's like this evil dark wizard, and they show up and kill a bunch of people, and then she unlocks Dark Snyder's powers. And
was Lord Osborne the first guy with the mace, or the second guy with the Hydra?
He was the second. He was the first guy with the mace. I don't remember what the second guy's name was who showed up in the second episode.
Lord Osborne obviously is Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes, he's obviously Ozzy Osbourne.
Even though I feel like they should have given him the sunglasses.
He does kind of look like Ozzy Osbourne a little bit, but I think they didn't want to possibly have like how JoJo had with the whole name thing.
Yeah.
Kind of, copyright or whatever, But Dark Snyder shows up, and he's an evil dark wizard. And he defeats all these people in gruesome ways, which I like the way like magic was depicted in this show. I kind of like it more than Mushoku Tensei magic, not gonna lie. But I liked how they had like say their incantation, and like depending on who said it first would possibly win. It was a whole ordeal with that.
There was only one thing I would have liked different with that stuff.
Uh-huh.
and they may have done with part of it, but I don't think so.
Uh-huh.
I would have preferred the spells to have been like song lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
That
think
might have
that would have been
fit with the music theme.
right.
You know? Yeah. That would have been interesting to see, you know. But yeah, he defeats the bad guys, and he turns back into Lucian, and Lucian doesn't remember anything that happened. Uh, but we find out that Dark Snyder has changed in some way. Like, it's almost as like Lucian has influenced Dark Snyder. He's not as bad as he once was, but he's still technically a bad guy, but not a bad guy. He's like in a morally gray area, you know?
Yeah, he's like everybody kind of like gives him a pass because he's like a savior,
He's a savior, but he's still like an asshole.
but he's an asshole pervert.
Yeah. Um, did anything happen like that was significant in the second episode? Because I don't remember anything in the second episode.
Yeah, they had the guy with the big hydra.
And they just killed him, right?
Yeah, that's when
they fight a hydra.
the priest comes in first.
Yeah. Okay.
And we think that because he is kind of like, you know, fuck everybody, I'm gonna kill the priest right now.
Mm-hmm.
That sealed him away, and I mean the Hydra
that's right.
for him is
That's
kind of
right.
like an aftermath.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like he didn't even think about it. He didn't care about it.
He didn't even care about the hydra. Yeah.
He just wants to kill the priest, and then he is going to he's going to basically use a golem to crush the priest.
That part was cool. I like it when the golem, he like summons the golem that was under the kingdom.
Yeah,
that was cool. I wasn't expecting that to happen whatsoever. Because I thought maybe he would just like use a spell and kill the hydra, but no, he like, it's almost like we get like a giant kaiju fight in the middle of this crazy battle that's happening.
Yeah, which I thought it was funny. He told that guy, he called him fish lips or whatever, and he's like, my lips are not fish.
My lips are not fish, and then it shows him as a fish.
Yeah.
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 Dark Snyder definitely has a personality in this anime. And it shines through.
Yeah, and I would tell people, make sure you get through the first two episodes, because when you get to the third one, it does seem like it's going to be the same story here and there. You're going to have one army dark general guy or whatever come in with whoever his army guys are, and you know, or creature, and then they're going to have to defeat them, and da-da-da. And it does kind of seem like, especially with the first two episodes, it just seemed kind of wash and rinse. They were both the same.
Yeah.
But then as you go on, the story kind of unfolds a little more.
I do have to agree with that. It did. The first two, I mean, even though I like the first two, I could definitely see the whole wash and rinse thing that you were talking about, because it kind of gets towards that later on when they go back to Meta-llicana, because for reasons they go back there, and there's the people are still trying to get into the castle, you know, and fighting like a different army or just different part of the same army is fighting, you know.
Yes.
I think one episode that the third episode really shined for me was, so Yoko ends up getting attacked, not attacked, but kidnapped, taken by Gara, the master ninja, who I like to call Guts, the ninja, because he looks a lot like Guts.
That's what you thought too?
Yeah.
I was watching that, I was like,
is this Guts?
When did Guts become a ninja?
Yeah. Right?
I was sitting back watching that, and I was like, am I seeing this right?
Right? I totally he looks like.
And then by the time you get to like the last episode where you see Gara, you're kind of like, oh no, that's just Gara, you know?
Yeah, it's just Gara. But like his first appearance, he does look like Guts, and he progressively like starts looking more and dressing a little more like a ninja, kind of a little bit
Yeah.
ish. But so he kidnaps Yoko because he's looking for Dark Schneider, and he obviously puts two and two together that this Dark Schneider has feelings or connections with this girl somehow.
Yes.
And so,
And would you say that the whole, I don't know if it's episode 3, but episode 4 with them infiltrating Gara's tower
uh-huh.
was really, I feel like, the turning point in the anime, because we got a lot of reoccurring things that happen out of that fight.
Yeah, I would say it is a big turning point for the anime, and it's one of the bigger episodes. The whole Gara little story is a bigger thing in the beginning of the anime
Yeah.
itself, because one, uh Lucian, I almost said Luca for some reason. Lucian uh couldn't he like Darkschneider came out of him, but he wasn't fully transformed when Yoko got kidnapped, and so
Right.
he had no way to get uh Dark Schneider out of the body. So they had to use Princess Shayla, who is a virgin maiden as well. A lot of virgins in this show. They should just call this the Virgin Show. This has been a subtitle
Not
right there.
exactly. There were just 2 virgins in this. 3 virgins that we know of.
4.
Because we didn't know if the pretty boy was a virgin or not.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to him. We'll get to him later on.
But prefer for sure the blonde with the pink in her hair and the princess and Yoko.
Yeah, they were all virgins.
Yeah.
And so we also find out that you don't need Yoko to unlock the power. And you can use anybody who is a virgin to unlock the power. They just have to kiss and say like an incantation, basically.
Right. And I think we actually only see that twice.
Yeah, because the other times he does it by himself.
He does this supposedly force of love without breaking his seal or anything, to turn into Dark Schneider to defend these other people and girls and stuff like that. So,
And this is where we get the part where you start to find out that Lucian is actually influencing Dark Schneider.
yes.
He doesn't know it at the time, but he is actually influencing him in a positive way, which I thought was really interesting, because technically they're the same person, but they're not the same person,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like they share the same body,
Yeah,
but
they're in the same body, but it's like their same personality. They're different personalities, and they're starting to grow into each other.
yeah, which that'll be interesting to see what exactly happens with that later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yoko gets captured by Gara. You think Gara's like this big bad guy. His whole thing is he's gonna throw this slime on her, and the slime is gonna eat her clothes away. So
Yeah.
she'll
Floating
know
slime.
the slime eats her clothes away, and he's. I like it when
He's
Gara
like,
and
"Hey boys, we're gonna see her naked."
we're gonna see her naked. We're gonna see her naked. And I thought it was funny that like she's like, "Oh no!" Well, I find it funny yet awkward. And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm being defiled." It's so uncomfortable. I feel like, and I don't know why. I always felt like that was weird. Like they put so much an emphasis on being pure
Yeah.
in Japanese anime media or whatever.
Well, and then the other funny thing is how like pure Gara was, because like,
Yeah,
him and all his ninjas. I mean, like, they never stole any women or anything else except for that we know of.
but
Her.
only Yoko.
But even though they stole Yoko and all this, they still had this like, hey, we're not going to cross boundaries,
Yeah.
because He didn't rip her clothes off. He didn't do anything else. A slime did it.
Yeah.
And then him and all his guys are kind of standing around like, oh, hey, we're going to see her naked,
We're gonna see her naked.
And so, I mean, that's kind of the other weird thing is Gara had like this weird innocence to him, even though he wasn't innocent,
Yeah. I love when the fight with Gara and Dark Schneider happens, and it's a pretty cool fight. But I love the part where he's like, yeah, I took her clothes off and I defiled her and did all this stuff to her. And it was very much like a comedic moment. And then you would hear Yoko, he did none of that stuff to me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you knew he was trying to do it to get a rise out of Dark Schneider where he would give him his all.
Yeah.
Which, that was another thing I kind of felt was kind of weird, is that him and Dark Schneider were on like equal footing.
Uh-huh.
And to see how other people fought Gara and how that was, that was a little weird at times because, I felt like Gara was a lot stronger than a bunch of other people.
You know what we totally passed over?
The climbing of the tower.
We totally passed over the Ifrit section with the sword.
Well, we passed over the whole thing of that.
Can we talk about that for a minute?
We got to back up all the way to when they actually start walking to the tower.
Yeah, okay.
Because they're like, there's not any ninjas around here. And everybody's like, how did you know this way?
Yeah.
And they get defeated. And then Dark Schneider, being his asshole self, tells the princess and goes, hey, you're slowing us down with your crappy sword play and the fucking armor that's on you.
Yeah, so she like strips down.
It's like, strip.
Do you think that was just a ploy to see her undress?
No, I mean you could tell like she was really shitty because they brought it up a couple times with her using a sword. Yeah, because one of the things is when she went to try and hit one of the ninjas, she actually hit one of her own soldiers in the face with the side of the sword.
I must have missed that part.
Yeah, it was like right there, and that's one of the big reasons. I mean, we saw her before use a sword, and you could tell that there was something off about it. But then when we got to that part, and she did that and hit one of her soldiers in the face with it, you just knew. And so whenever he called her out for it and said, take all that off, it made sense. I have to say,
yeah.
I mean, on top of how we see her dressed, like through episode 1, episode 2, going forward from there. I mean, we know that she's not used to wearing armor either. So, I felt like it was properly put in there, but some other people might think it was distasteful.
She barely wears clothes even in the first episode.
No. And the other funny thing is if you watch the first episode, it is really a lot more like raunchy. Because you do have where you can see like through the cloth like her nipples poking out and stuff like that, and then it's kind of weird after episode 1 they get away from that, but
she has different outfit changes throughout the show.
Yeah,
her outfit does change, and I wonder if Dark Schneider like
you never see her cold again though.
No, never again.
Never, just episode 1.
Never. But I love. So I was watching this particular episode, and my wife comes in and she's like, "What are you watching?" And it's the part. So Dark Schneider ends up getting poisoned.
So they walk into the thing, and they fight a Minotaur, and Dark Schneider leaves all of the platoon of soldiers they took with him to fight the Minotaur, because he doesn't want anybody around to disturb him when he is fighting. Yeah, and then they fight this big thing that looks like a beholder, but then if you look at it, it actually has arms and legs and it has a scythe. Yeah. He fights that thing, which I thought that was kind of a weird fight because all it took her was hitting the eyeball thing in the back and his shield went down, and I was like, well, this is a quick fight. Like he stood there using like 3 magic spells on him and couldn't hit him.
And
because of the shield.
he kind of complains to Princess Shayla,
Yeah.
and he's like, you're gonna slow me down, And she finds a sword, and the sword is cursed, and she
Yes.
attacks him right with the sword
Yeah.
on accident.
Yeah. She attacks him, and it's been coated in poison or something.
Yeah, and the sword is like a magical sword that has Ifrit inside of it. But to get the poison out, Princess Shayla has to suck on his wound, which
That's over his rib cage.
it's over his rib cage, but it looks very, very close to his dick.
It's not that close to his dick. Hell. But if you're not watching if you're not watching it when this shit is happening, there is a lot of suck it harder.
Suck it harder. You gotta suck it off.
You have to give me more. Oh, it definitely turns into this.
This anime is the biggest fucking tease I think I've ever watched. Like, fucking seriously.
Yeah. Well, so there's another one, and we'll cover that part later on, but there's another character that he is trying to help her out by sucking poison out of her. And she gets a wound on her stomach. And one of my brothers was over here, and he goes, "What is he doing to her?" I went, "She's got a wound by her belly button. It's not, but the way that it's like, oh, and stuff.
Like, don't touch me. Be gentle, And I'm like, oh.
You're definitely
there's a whole part in this where, like, so after they defeat Ifrit, like, he puts Princess Shayla, like, on his shoulders like a fireman carry almost. And, like,
that's before that.
Is it before that? Okay. And she's,
Yeah.
like, getting, like, aroused because his shoulder is, like, bumping up against her private area.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, we're doing this right now. Okay, we're going there. We're going there. And then Princess Shayla falls in love with Dark Schneider. Like all the other women in this anime.
Right. And then she says, like, "Oh, we didn't go all the way.
We didn't go all the way, but
like,
did your shoulder did pleasure me."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so
and she views them as married because it kind of like gets talked about a couple times that if the princess of the town of Meta-llicana kisses somebody, then that's shown as like a marriage proposal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they're bonded, obviously, by marriage.
We do have Ifrit. Ifrit is like the highest leveled fire god or something, I guess, or fire demon that was created, and he has his own sword. This is probably one that we'll see multiple times. That's why I said that this episode was very pivotal. Because we have Gara, we have Ifrit, we have him rescuing the people, and it gives us a lot more of information on all of the Dark Generals and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so they defeat Gara and Ifrit. Everything is fine. They're going to go back to Meta-llicana, but Dark Schneider sneaks off and goes away with a blue little dragon named Lars, and
right, and then we figure that out.
He's named after the drummer from Metallica, obviously. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Kid, Dark Schneider only hear what Lars was saying? Because every other time he just like, when other people were talking.
So I think that he chose to not give away his disguise, because you know who that was, right?
Yeah, that's Princess Shayla's brother.
Yeah, that's the prince that supposedly sealed him away, and he's this little cute dragon also to like do that because he is supposedly like this dragon knight swordsman and he chanted some kind of a spell that turned him into a huge dragon.
Yeah.
And he has kind of demorphed into this little cute one, and I don't think he knows how to change back.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But he is now like Dark Snyder's like little dragon familiar companion,
Yeah.
because he goes everywhere with Dark Snyder now instead of Gara or anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
And he gives us a lot of information and side comments.
What happens next on Darksiders' misadventures by himself?
Dark Snyder goes off, and he's like, "Oh no, there's a virgin maiden. I can just smell it getting attacked by this giant spider."
Her name is Kaisu, I believe her name is.
Yeah, and she's just a girl with a mullet that has.
She does have a mullet.
It's blonde with
Like
pink ends.
pink tips, and she's like a summoner kind of. She uses like talisman cards.
Yeah, she uses, which that's kind of another thing. They bring it up, and they bring it up in her episode too, so you can tell that some of this is not really thought out.
Yeah,
But they bring up like what different kinds of magic there are. There's 4 different kinds, like elemental, spirit, something else, and then you have this ancient whatever magic that like who knows what it is, and you have talisman magic, which again, last I counted, if you are counting all these other ones that they have, that brings us up to 7.
Well, the thing is, like, one thing that they didn't really touch on, and they touched on the very, very beginning, was, and I wish they kind of would bring it up as well, and they might incorporate it into the next part of this anime, is the whole how, like, the civilization was like technologically advanced, like our time, and then it got destroyed and went to a fantasy time. Like it like de-evolved into like magic and fantasy.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, it's at the very, very beginning of the show.
Because we do have times in it too where there are fourth wall breaks as well.
Yeah, and they have yen for money.
Yeah.
So,
but we have the fourth wall break where Dark Snyder will be like, how are you going to do that? I mean, isn't it hard enough to like have these scenes in like manga and anime?
Like, we're in a shonen manga, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
like that.
My favorite part of that is we get up to the third magic general guy, the vampire.
Yeah.
And he sends the werewolf guy out, and then we get like this extreme fourth wall break where he's fighting the werewolf, and he's like, you've had too much screen time. You're not even a main villain here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck am I watching now?
Right?
You shouldn't even be here. You're not a main character.
You're
okay,
be here. Get out of here.
You've had enough screen time already. I'm going to kill you. I mean, it just one was probably the best one.
The fourth wall breaking was surprising, and I was like, "Oh, that's odd." And then it didn't continue constantly, but when it did, it was really funny. Like,
yes,
it was funny.
You could definitely, like, if you like Deadpool's fourth wall breaks, you're gonna like Dark Snyder's fourth wall breaks, because they are hilarious.
I mean, we could kind of skip these like kind of next 2 episodes, really. But he picks up 2 more women, with the summoner and then the pretty boy who's actually a girl.
She's just a swordsman.
Oh yeah, swordsman. Which
I
started to pick it up when we got to that episode. With her. I think her name was like Abigail. I think her name was.
No, she had another one of those weird Chinese names.
Was it?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah, because when they brought her up, I was like, are we going to have all of these Asian names now? I am not going to remember this for the podcast.
Yeah, I don't remember what her name was. Anyways, yeah. So when we got to that episode, I was like, "There's another girl in the title sequence that we haven't seen yet." Like they show him in the anime opening, and I was like,
Yeah.
"When is this other girl gonna show up?" And I got to that episode, and I was like, "Huh, this guy seems very feminine for some reason. His voice sounds weird."
No, when they came in, I was like, all right, here's the other chick. But
Oh,
this is also the spot when we see her. We've seen all 5 of the people in the title sequence for him,
yeah,
for Dark Snyder and everything. And I was like, wait, but there's 3 Demon General people left. Like, is there gonna be another woman? Why is there not a 6th woman on the thing? That
yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
yeah,
And then we find out it's actually Guy, and that made sense.
yeah. It was funny. It was funny to see. Um,
Well, and then the talisman girl he actually slept with.
no, he
Yes,
says
he
he
did.
didn't. Did he? Because he said he
He did.
didn't sleep with her.
He did. There's one weird part where he kind of does like they're in the illusion, and he does this thrust, and then he ended up actually sleeping with her later on after he
Okay, because
shows how strong his magic is.
after that, he says to Lars, "I actually only bit her ear, and like that was it. Like he didn't actually sleep with her."
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind. You're right.
Yeah, like
I
something
I think
happened.
I think they just played it off so much that it made me think that.
I know at first because I thought he did sleep with her.
Yeah.
Like I thought that actually happened, but
Well,
he's
and
just
there are a couple scenes where it looks like he thrust into her, and I'm like,
like he looks like he's fucking her. Like
yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's a very steamy anime, very steamy, very spicy.
And then we get the swordsman whose whole thing behind her is like turning people to stone.
Does she turn him to stone?
Yeah,
Yes, yes, she does. Yeah. I remember now. Yeah,
she's a swordsman. She has this light magic kind of that can do that, and then she has a big magic spell that can do it, and then she's got a cockatrice that's like hidden under the ground.
yeah. That thing looked weird as fuck. That
Oh
thing
yeah,
looked
it was.
weird
I was
looking.
like, and then it looked like it had these big sacs on the side of its cheeks that it would blow up with uh, stone powder or whatever.
Yeah,
It was weird.
I really want to get to the next episode with the vampire guy.
With
And
Kiss,
talk. No, it's actually not Kiss. I looked it up. It's King something. It's another guy who paints his face black and white.
okay,
I thought it was Gene Simmons at first too, but it's inspired by somebody else, like King Damo or something like that. I don't remember what his name is.
yeah,
He's an old guy who's a heavy metal gothic musician.
okay,
But his thing, he's a vampire and he wants the blood of virgins to get more power, and he gets this guy to bring him like virgin maidens. And I just want to say, do do virgins like give off like a special smell?
supposedly,
Because he sniffs and he's like, "Yes, all these are good virgins, except for that one. That one's not a virgin." And
yes,
I was like, "What?" Because they do this several times in this episode, where they go looking for these virgin women to so he can suck them dry of their blood, not anything else, of their blood. That is it.
right, because he's trying to get stronger,
Yeah,
and the
but
virgin blood is going to make him strong enough to defeat the 4 general people.
yeah, true. But when the werewolf shows up at the um with he's gonna like capture these women, I had my headphones in and my wife was sitting next to me reading a book, and I was listening to it, and he's like sniffing the air, and he's like, "Yeah, you definitely are virgins." And I turn over, I look at my wife, and I sniff. I start sniffing her. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Nope, you're not a virgin. Definitely not a virgin."
I feel
She's
like
like, "What the?"
that. I feel like you would have gotten slapped on that one.
She's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I was just checking to
I'm
see.
just trying to know. I want to know.
Yeah, this episode was kind of ridiculous. Like, I thought the vampire guy was kind of ridiculous.
Oh,
Like,
he
I
was so
couldn't.
funny though. So
He
funny.
was funny, but I couldn't take him seriously.
No, no. I mean, and then it was funny that they went from like going all out with magic and all of this other stuff
Uh-huh.
to the vampire guy throwing out some form of magic at Dark Snyder and him using it and turning it around and throwing it back at him.
Mm-hmm.
And when he did it, he's like, "Oh, you missed me." And then we realized the vampire guy didn't really remember time,
Oh
and
yes,
he knocked down a thing, and Classic killed the vampire with
light.
the light of the sun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was definitely. I mean, it was kind of a cliche ending, a little bit. The other two characters that we just kind of met, the summoner and the swordswoman, they get written out of the show at this point after this episode.
They come back.
Not in the last couple episodes, they don't.
They come
They
back in
don't.
one of the episodes.
No, after this, they get written out of the show because what's her face gets hurt. The swordswoman gets hurt, and they
Yeah,
go off to the
I
temple.
thought the blonde came back at one point.
No, they don't come back at this point. No, they get kind of written off the show out because only three are left are Arsh, Yoko, and Princess Shayla. You know, they don't come back
I'll
until
have to go. I'll have to go back and look because I thought the blonde one came back for a second,
no.
and she starts arguing with uh the dark elf chick,
No.
and then she's like gone.
I mean, she might go back to argue with the dark elf chick. I don't know, but I mean, as far as I know, they take her out of the show
Yeah,
until probably next season. Who knows?
yeah. I
Which I
thought
thought
she
was
was like in like episode 10.
I thought it was kind of odd. They just take him out of the rest of the anime. Like they're not as important
Yeah.
as the other girls. But I mean, I don't know.
Well, I think almost everybody gets written out at that point except for Yoko, and like they're there, but they're not. They don't really matter too much.
Yeah.
And you can tell at different points they try and make them like where they stay canon, but it'll just be like, oh hey, I love Dark Snyder. All right, that's it. That's all my airtime that I was given this episode.
And so we find out what the big bad guys really want to do, which is they want to resurrect Anthraxia is what it's called.
Yeah, we knew that in episode 2.
I don't remember that part. I didn't remember that part whatsoever.
When they took over the other castle, then they bring up that they have to take over the other castle or the castle in Meta-llicana because they have the other part of it, and that's another part where I'm a little confused on because it goes from them needing 2 parts, one from that kingdom that they took over, and then one from Meta-llicana. And then later on, they bring up like, "Hey, there's 2 other ones somewhere else,"
Yeah,
and I'm kind of like, "So how do we go from 2 to being 4?"
Maybe it's like there's one in each kingdom.
Yeah,
You know, which I didn't even pick up that they were in a different kingdom from the first part to when they get to Meta-llicana. I thought it was both Meta-llicana. To be honest.
No, the ice guy and then the main guy.
Yeah.
Or the other main general guy that he kind of looks like a Nazi. I'm not gonna
A
lie.
little bit, yeah. I get big Nazi vibes from him. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, totally,
But and then the other guy is like an ice guy.
yeah.
So
Which we don't see much of him at all in this.
no, we
And
don't even know he uses ice except for crossover content where somebody's arguing with Dark Snyder on why can't you use ice abilities, and he's like, well, that was da 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 special thing, and we don't cross over our magics.
yeah,
We don't cross the streams.
no crossing the streams. But we get to the big climactic battle where they're at Metallicana. They're trying to get the keys to resurrect and Anthraxia, or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't remember what it's
Yes,
called. Anthraxia. And so they send
the big white thing.
what is her name? I forgot what her name was. Her full name. What is her full name? Her name is
Harshness.
Thunder Empress Arshis Nay. So who is a half elf. She was raised by Dark Schneider, and so she's his daughter slash lover,
Yes.
who is sent out to kill Dark Schneider.
Yes.
Boy, that was a fucking mouthful. And yes, it is very hard to wrap your brain around this relationship in the anime itself.
That's
It
true.
is very hard because
Especially when you hear father lover,
father
daughter
lover,
lover, daughter
daughter
lover,
lover.
and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so we find out that she was abandoned by her family, her tribe, and Dark Schneider takes her in, raises her.
Well, we find out that originally she was abandoned because she's been abandoned twice.
Yeah,
Originally, she was abandoned because she was born in the middle of war as a half dark elf. So
yeah,
one parent's a dark elf, one parent's a human. Neither one of them wanted because they were fighting against each other.
hmm,
And then some wood elves ended up taking her in, and they ended up leaving her at some point, which is finally when Dark Schneider found her.
yeah, yeah. True story, bro. True story.
But we also missed where there is this nail power thingy that
Oh, it was
Dark
called
Snyder puts on the vampire guy. And then the
did
next episode, the German Nazi guy ends up doing the
oh
same
yeah.
thing to Arceus.
Yeah. So he puts this thing on her nail, which if she doesn't kill Dark Schneider, it like slowly eats away at her and it can turn her into a toad.
Yes.
That was weird. That was a weird little thing that they had going on there.
Yes. Well, and
But
it was weird to have it in one episode and then it to be the starter in the next episode.
but I like the whole fighting in this part of this ending of the show where we get to see Gara go up against Arsha or
Yeah.
Nay. We get to, and that fight is really cool. I really like that fight that they had, but I thought it was funny that the ninjas and the orcs or goblins, whatever they were the
Yeah.
ones narrating the fight.
Yeah.
Which that just made me laugh out loud because I thought it was very reminiscent of Dragon Ball in a
Right.
way, where the useless characters are the ones narrating the fight. And then Gara becomes the one who ends up narrating the final battle between Nay and Dark Schneider.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, what did you think of this whole ending for with the fight and the final battle with Dark Schneider and Nay?
Well, I think it was kind of weird starting out too because the battle with Gara, she did get into a little fight with Dark Snyder
Mm-hmm.
and then left and came back.
Yeah.
So she's kind of semi had 4 fights with him. One like on the Dreamscape, and then she had a little fight, and then we had that fight where he defended Gara, and then the big fight between them.
Yeah.
And every time it got a little weirder because it was like, oh, I love you. No, I hate you. No, I love you. No, I hate you. No, I
Yeah.
love you. Yeah, I mean, it got somewhat repetitive in that instance. But then we get to like episode 12 where they actually do start naming off all of the attacks after different
I
things.
I do feel like though there were a lot of emotional stakes in this final battle between Nay and Dark Snyder
Yes.
because they do have this history of being with each other for over 100 years, he said, you know.
Yes.
So they know each other inside and out, figuratively and literally. Um but it was
Well, and
interesting to
it's funny what both of them say about the other one. Like she's the one that narrates her or inner monologues her stuff about he knows me, everywhere. His fingers have touched everywhere, inside and outside my body, and his lips have been everywhere, inside and outside my body. And you're like, aren't you supposed to be fighting right now?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they have a lot of history between the two, so it was a very like dramatic fight, and you can definitely tell that like Nay is definitely not a pushover in like fighting. Like she's really good at what she does. Like she even took out Gara. Well, she basically took out Gara.
Yeah, she basically took out Gara.
Who's ninja guts.
Ninja
Uh,
guts.
but
I
so,
think that needs
yes,
to be, I think that needs to be the title of this episode.
ninja
Yeah,
guts.
yeah. We watch Bastard Guts, Guts, the Ninja Guts.
Ninja guts.
Oh yeah, there we go. Bastard featuring Ninja Guts. Everybody will read the title and be like, Ninja Guts. Are there ninjas in this?
I was really surprised there were ninjas in this.
That's true too.
I was like, "What ninjas?"
I was surprised, and I know they're trying to add some Japanese aspects into it, but I was really surprised with the ninjas. I
Hmm.
was really surprised with the eyeball monster, Sheen, whatever his name was.
Hmm.
I was really with the talisman magic,
Hmm.
and there was, I think, one other thing that was in it that was more Japanese related, and I was like, that is so weird that it was added in here like that.
Well, you also didn't know that it was set in our world, but you know,
Whatever,
different.
forget you, whatever.
Yeah, but
But we do get a lot of
anyways,
the cool names in this.
yeah, we do get some pretty cool fights too, that are very well animated. Like they're really good. This anime like definitely is above and beyond what the last one we covered was just Spriggan, which fucking sucked.
Oh yeah, that's
Well,
true.
let me ask you this because let me ask you this about the ending of this because you didn't know that this was part one of a part two anime.
Yeah.
Like there's more to this series, and we only got to watch the first half, obviously the first 13 episodes. What did you think of this ending? So what happens is uh Dark Snyder and Nay are basically like a stalemate almost, and Dark Snyder gets told that Nay has been cursed. Luca, not Lu, Lucian tells Dark Snyder that Nay has been cursed, and the only way to fix this is if she rips out Dark Snyder's heart, and he rips out his own heart and gives it to her, and that's how the show ends.
Right. Well, and that was changed like 3 different times, which is another thing that kind of pissed me off about it. Because we have one part where initially Nay is told, "Hey, you need to rip his heart out,"
Hmm.
and then we're told basically, "Hey, you just have to put your hands around his heart," and then it's basically she just needs part of his blood to touch the nail on her
Yeah.
finger. And so, I mean, we go through all of this, and I'm kind of like, okay, well, what's going to happen though? You know, like, is he just going to bleed on her nail, and then it's going to be a-okay? I mean, you know, it started turning out being like really weird. And that's another thing you could kind of tell watching this is some characters reappearing, disappearing, different things with it, you know, spells and what they're supposed to be done for or whatever. Whenever any of that stuff happened,
Mm-hmm.
then it always seems like they left it open ended where they changed the rules up here and there.
Yeah.
And then most of the time they went back to what they originally said, but they wouldn't bring that up the way that they should have every time.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember the other little Japanese thing, the Spirit and the Thunder Sword.
Oh, okay.
It was the Japanese creature Nu.
Yeah.
So we had Ifrit, which is more like Celtic, and then we had Nu, which is Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this anime definitely ends on a cliffhanger, like a big fucking cliffhanger, a big like sombering cliffhanger, I would say.
Well, they are on the side of a cliff too, so
They are on side of the cliff, obviously, but like I was like, oh, we're ending it on this. This isn't even a high note. We're just ending it. Like he rips out his heart and like blood spews everywhere, and then and like cuts the black.
right. We don't even see him hand it to her.
No, and I was like, this anime kind of got balls.
Right. That is for sure.
So let me ask you this: since what did you think of this anime, you know, as a whole, as of right now? Because we will cover part 2 eventually when it comes out, but just part 1. What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it.
Uh huh.
I wouldn't say that this is like the best end all be all, but compared to some of the other stuff where we watch where you know they're trying to go with that, this one, even though I would have to say it wasn't like the best, it didn't care if it was the best.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I'm going to present the story to you the way I fucking want to. And that's it, you know. You know, it wasn't like
It.
Spriggan, hey, we're trying to get you to keep with the story here. Oh, we're losing you still? Oh, okay, let's try a little harder. It wasn't that.
For like an anime and manga, because this anime started back in like 1988, so it's been been going on for a while, for and it's definitely interesting to see an interpretation of a fantasy anime from back then to like the fantasy animes we get nowadays.
Yes.
you know and how big the sword and sorcery thing was back then, and it's still kind of big now, but you could almost say like the ones we get now are very cookie cutter. And there are
Yes.
some cookie cutter aspects about this one, but this one like cranks everything up to like 11.
Yes.
And it's not ashamed to go to those places of like the fan service, the ultra violence, the
Oh,
dark
yeah.
nature of like a fantasy would have.
Right. Oh, yeah. And I mean, it's not against if the low hanging fruit is there using it.
Yeah, yeah. And we get a character who has balls and is not afraid to like get his hands dirty, except for when he turns back into Lucian, which that does have some interesting elements in it. Lucian is more of like the pure character, and he's like, I'm gonna Dark Snyder's like, I'm gonna kill people type of thing, like
Right.
it was interesting to see, and I liked it. I liked this show. It was a lot of fun. Um, I I I might have had more fun with it than you did. I'm not for sure. 'Cause you seem to have more problems with the spells and how things worked and whatnot. I didn't really care about that. aspect, like the ins and outs of the magic system and whatnot.
I just thought that some of it would have been cooler if they had used like lyrics from songs for spells.
Yeah, yeah. There was
Uh,
one part where she starts praying to like these people, and she's praying to like the band members for Def Leppard, which is pretty funny.
yeah.
Nay was
Well,
Nay was
that's
at
the
one
name of
point.
that spell too.
Yeah, it was like Def Leppard. It was like Liquid something Def Leppard. I don't remember what it was called.
Liquid lightning sphere.
Yeah, that's what it was called. I was like, what? She just prayed
Yeah.
to Def
Well,
Leppard.
and she's like I pray to Bill and Joel and
Paul.
yeah, Paul and somebody else, and I was like, did she just say English names?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like it threw me off. I was like, what?
It was
So
those little things are funny. Yeah, like I mean, I had fun with this. I like the character designs for a lot of the characters because I like that like 80s aesthetic, especially like
I only had one problem with that.
okay.
We have a scene where it's the princess and Yoko
Uh-huh.
standing together, and I think it's um after the dark elf chick actually throws like something over at him, or her spirits
Uh-huh.
attack him or whatever, and we see both of them, kind of one of them kneeling down to the other one and the other one kind of helping her up or whatever, and they're sitting there together, and when you get this image you realize both their eyes are the same, the faces are exactly the same, the only thing
Oh
different
yeah.
is the hair.
Yeah. No,
And
totally. Yeah, no.
that was
I get it.
probably the only thing I was a little disappointed in, is because then I actually realized how both of these characters look exactly the same.
Yes. Yeah. No, I knew that too. Uh, you can tell like he definitely has like a thing. The only one who looked kind of different was Nay, because obviously she's a dark elf and stuff. Uh, but I like it because it gave me very much like like Dungeons and Dragons, dark fantasy, very much like a Conan the Barbarian vibe almost
Yeah.
with the way the world was, and it like I don't know, it just I liked it. Like I liked that it was dark and it wasn't like, oh yes, let's go save the world. We're a young adventurer who just started, not your typical like RPG bright-eyed bushy tail uh like heroine or hero.
Yeah.
It's it's a character who has flaws, which I like my characters with flaws. He's he's a very much like a reluctant hero who fights for oddly love.
Right.
you know but yeah, I mean I liked it. I thought the animation was good. I liked the music a lot. uh I found myself like I would get the theme song like stuck in my head a
The
lot.
opener or the other one?
Both of them.
Okay.
Like I would start like humming them and stuff, and I was like, like I don't know, I just got really hyped for it. I really enjoyed it. Like I've never seen the
So
original anime.
I tried to buy the opener
Oh, you did?
song on iTunes, and
It
it's not in America.
it's on Spotify.
So I couldn't buy it. I was upset.
It's on Spotify. You can play it on Spotify.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole band. There's like a bastard playlist on Spotify.
You bastard.
But yeah, I mean, I had fun with it. I mean, it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I can see people definitely being turned off by Dark Snyder's personality in the way that
I I can see people watching this and being like, "This is the most racist, sexist thing I've ever watched."
I can see people getting turned off because of the fact that Dark Snyder does grope and touch women inappropriately. Dark Snyder would get canceled. Just saying.
That's true. This is also in a fantasy setting.
True, but if he wasn't, he would get canceled. But yeah. So what
So
would
I mean, you don't know. There might be a lot of people that want to get groped by Dark Snyder if they knew him.
maybe because he's pretty good at it apparently.
Obviously, so
Yeah. So what?
he can suck the poison out of you.
Yeah, he can. He can suck the poison out of me any day.
Oh my god. Yeah.
So what would you rate this from
Uh,
1 to 5?
1 to 5.
Mhm.
I would give this one probably a strong solid 4.
Really? Because that's what I would give it to.
Yeah, I would give it that. Like I said, it does have flaws.
It does. It does.
Other stuff.
I did start to kind of get a little bored with the vampire a little bit. And,
We'll see, and I like the vampire part. My whole part was it does very much seem like a side scroller game where you're going through, you're hack and slashing everything that's in the dungeon, and you get up to the bad guy. And then you just kind of cookie cutter go back through it. I mean, there is a little bit uniqueness to some of the fights, but that's kind of what I felt.
We don't have a complete story, so we have to wait for the other half.
Right. But I mean, the thing is, though, like I said too, the anime knows that it has flaws. It owns its flaws. It goes from there, and it also doesn't give a fuck about the flaws.
No.
It's not like other anime where, oh well, we did this, we have to fix it. This was like, no. If I told you one thing, get ready because it could change.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I'm going to be definitely interested to see where this goes, and I want to talk about part 2 when it comes out.
yeah.
This has been a fun. It was a fun watch. Like, it was a fun, quick watch. Like, it didn't overstay its welcome. I feel like
That's true.
Then, it was like
That's
wham
true.
bam, thank you, ma'am.
I was happy when I got to the end of it, even though I was getting kind of burnt out and tired a couple times because I was like, okay, well, what are we gonna do different?
Well, you did binge it.
Whatever.
Over like 2 days. I spread it out and watched. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch 3 episodes this day, 3 episodes this day.
Well, I try and base myself off though how binge worthy is it though.
But see, if I binge it, I forget stuff.
Just like I brought the joke up, obviously about Umbrella Academy. I binged that and I was like, this is amazing. I love it.
I haven't finished it yet.
So it just depends. It just depends on what it is. So
yeah.
I mean, it just depends on, I guess, the show itself and how it envelops and goes from there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, what did you think? What would
I enjoyed it.
Well, you said a 4.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was, I for a first part of an anime, I thought it was very well done.
Right,
and I can't wait to watch part 4. Part 2. I'll check that out when it comes out. Sorry, part 2. I don't know why I said part 4. Part 2.
There's 3 more parts of this shit. I don't know if I can make it through all that.
Part 2. It's like a 24 episode show, I think.
Okay,
if I remember correctly. Yeah, it has decent length to it, but it was fun. It was fun. I liked all the characters. I did feel like a little bit of the groping did get a little repetitive at some points. Like, okay, we get it. He's a horn dog. Okay.
Well, and so here's one other thing that I thought that you would love is, there's one part where he gets called out and goes, we're gonna make this land for shamans and da 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 and whatnot. And he's like, well, I don't care about that. And she goes, something, you have one wicked way of trying to make yourself a harem, and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
well, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
doing.
Yeah, that's what
I
he's
mean,
doing.
that already
Like,
made sense.
I mean, like when we got to like episode 2 or 3, or I can't remember, and I was like, he's low key like slowly building up a harem.
Yeah,
You know, I was like, well played, well played, anime, well played.
right.
You know,
You playing
even
on,
though
on you playing on my emotions right now.
even
Okay.
though they're all in the opening
Yeah.
and the closing, most of the time naked.
Yes. Well, and on that aspect, I was waiting for things to happen, and they never did.
Yeah.
So,
There's a
so
lot of there's also a lot of male fan service too in this. Because Dark Snyder gets naked a lot.
that's true. Well, and then you have Gara that does it too.
Yeah.
Ninja Guts.
Yeah.
That I also thought, because I thought that too, that it was just going to focus um, on him getting naked, and then we finally had Guts where he blew his armor off, and you were like, and I was like, really? They're doing that now?
He just like pops it all off. He's like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
Yeah, I would watch this again and then watch the next part over ever watching another thing of Spriggan again. Like
That's true.
This being an online animation as well, this had so much bigger budget than Spriggan.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and I mean that's the other thing though too. Like even the worst character in my book was still the best villain in Spriggan.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the bad part.
Okay.
Because, like you said, you weren't like a big fan of the vampire guy, but I still felt like the vampire guy was better than
I mean,
every villain we had in Spriggan.
I liked him, but I kind of wanted the episode to move along. I felt like it was getting a little slow with the vampire guy, just a little bit.
Yeah,
like pacing wise. That's why I didn't really care. Like I felt like the pace slowed down just a little bit. I wanted to, get to that next part.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, I hope that you guys will try this out.
Add
And-
one to my checklist. For good animes, just saying.
But I hope everybody out there listening will go check out this show. Let us know what you think about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you had problems with it, if you didn't, if you aren't a youngin that has problems with stuff that comes from the 80s, because I feel like that will be the problem here, yeah, I mean it'll be problems like younger people have with like Blazing Saddles, honestly, yeah, sad to say, but
I can see that.
yeah. But anyway, check it out. It was a pretty good show. All of us old fogies obviously aren't going to be the only people that really enjoyed this. And we will see you next Tuesday. Check out some of our other episodes.
Yeah.